Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, everyone on the Sideline Sports Network Empire. Thank you for tuning in tonight to another episode of Linc'd podcast. Eagles back in action this week against Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to talk about that matchup. We are going to talk about what the Eagles' strategies should be ahead of the NFL trade deadline, which is going to be next Tuesday. And in spirit of Halloween, we're also going to talk about which Philadelphia Eagles players are the scariest Eagles players that we've ever seen. Greg Ward signed to the practice squad this week. We have a lot of stuff that we're going to discuss. We're also going to discuss and poll question that I want you guys to be thinking about, that we're going to talk about at the end of the show here. Who would win on a neutral site? The 2022 Eagles versus the 2004 Eagles. Think about that and get back to me at the end of the show. With that being said, let's get the man himself, the Lindy legend, in the house. What's up, co-host with the most?
Another week, another closing of a bye week for the Birds this season. And, this time's a little different that we're still undefeated. So we got a lot to look forward to, man.
We absolutely do. And let's actually start with the NFL trade deadline is next Tuesday. There have been some reports floating around what the Eagles are looking at. So we started off with the first report saying that the Eagles were in talks with the Carolina Panthers on running back Christian McCaffrey, who was ultimately traded to the 49ers. The Eagles offered a third-round pick or a fourth-round pick or something for McCaffrey, which was turned down. Obviously, the 49ers offered a great deal more than that. So, yeah, that was pretty interesting. I just think that was kind of a typical Howard Roseman doing some fishing around. He's, always trying to see what situations are going on. So I wasn't too surprised, and I'm actually glad that we didn't overpay to get Christian McCaffrey, because I think we got a good thing going with Miles Sanders right now. But if they added another running back, I wouldn't be too surprised by that. Pass rushers, Brian Burns is a name that's been brought up, but the Panthers supposedly turned down 2 first-round picks. I personally don't know if that's true or not, because if you look at it, teams do this type of stuff where they say, oh, well, so-and-so offered us 2 first-round picks and we turned it down. You're trying to drive the price up, but I don't actually think the Panthers would turn down multiple first-round picks with the position that they're in. They're a rebuilding team. If someone offers them 2 first-round picks, they are definitely going to take it. They are trying to drive the price up, in my opinion. But a pass rusher or another running back, I think that's definitely something that could be in the works for the Eagles. If they don't get Brian Burns, I think another name to watch is Bradley Chubb from the Denver Broncos. They have been seeing his name swirling around, saying the Broncos lose this week to the Jaguars. He could be on the move. The Broncos trying to stockpile some picks because they have been a very disappointing team. The whole Russell Wilson, let Russ cook stuff has not gone as planned, and the Broncos need to do something over there. So pretty interesting, but if I had to say, I definitely think pass rusher and running back could be in the works for the Eagles.
The Russell Wilson memes are quite hilarious, by the way. Broncos country, let's ride. And
let's ride.
Just see everything flaming.
LinkedIn country, let's ride, baby.
That was just hilarious. But no, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised about the CMC deal that is Christian McCaffrey falling through. Because, we know to this point, as dynamic of a playmaker he is with the ball in his hands, it's just, and it just dates back to the issue that we had with Miles Sanders coming into this season, is that how healthy was he going to be to where he can play more than 11, 12, 13 games. And right now, Miles is proving us wrong so far, and and actually staying healthy and being productive. I think averaging over 4.2, 4.3 yards a carry, which isn't bad. Although the Eagles collectively, as as a running offense, aren't one of the most productive. I think they sit at 22nd. And I understand on how how tantalizing and how attractive that can be to have Jalen Hurts and Christian McCaffrey, in that backfield at the same time. That's true. Like you can imagine that, but you can only imagine that if Christian's actually on the field. But we've seen the Eagles do this before. You know, they're dealing with the strength, and they're trying to add to that strength. Predominantly on the defensive line. The Brian Burns situation feels Khalil Mack-esque at the time that he was traded. So when you're possibly looking at 2 first rounders, I mean, that's going to be, and that's something I brought up in my video last week. That's going to be a hard sell for the Panthers to move on from a cornerstone franchise player who's only 24 years old and has been as productive as he has, I think, since 2019. Players like that just don't immediately come available. If the team's in a fire sale, the asking price is going to respectfully be high for his services. So we can look at a Bradley Chubb, we can look at a Robert Quinn, and I know there's some people that are like, nah, I'm good on Robert Quinn, but I mean, you got to think about it. He should be a cheaper rental type of acquisition, and and another thing in my video I pointed out, it kind of reminds me of when the Eagles signed Ryan Kerrigan as a free agent. Kind of in the same position. He was 32 at the time. Although Jonathan Gannon could not get him to be all that productive when it was too little too late. I think Robert could provide plenty of depth to the pass rushers, but we'll see going forward with what the Eagles do. We hear plenty of rumors right now, especially with running backs. I think Melvin Gordon is another name to watch. David Montgomery, Kareem Hunt. The Eagles have done this before, especially in 2017 at the deadline, and when they got Jay Ajayi. But they still stress the fact that LeGarrette Blount was the number one, and Sirianni is doing the same with Miles right now. That he is the number one back. But it doesn't hurt at the same time to add some power to that room. We know what Kenny Gainwell is. We know what Boston Scott is. Miles is a touchdown on an explosive play waiting to happen. There's no bruiser that can punch it up the middle of the field and get those grinding yards. So that would be nice to have. So those are a few players to keep on watch.
Definitely some good names there. I definitely think that we're going to make a move. Even when we think we're done making moves, Howard Roseman always does something. Kind of like what we saw this season, right before the season, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson trade kind of came out of nowhere. It was like a little bit before the season. We made all these big moves, and we're like, there can't possibly be anything else. And then, boom, it happened. So keep your phones on, turn your notifications on, Ian Rappaport, Schefter, whoever, and watch your phones for next Tuesday. Something is definitely going to go down. So let's talk about this week's game, this week's matchup. We have the Pittsburgh Steelers coming to town. State rivalry, if you will. Pittsburgh, Philly coming over here. The Steelers not looking too good. 2-5. Kenny Pickett, rookie quarterback, coming in. He does not look ready. He's very reckless with the ball. He's thrown a lot of interceptions already. I'm not sure exactly how many he's thrown this season, but
he has
seven interceptions in like only a few games started. Up to the hottest start for the first round pick. And I think that is a recipe for an absolute disaster and a catastrophe in this game, because if you look at the Eagles' defense, they are the most opportunistic group in the league. This team turns you over, and then on offense, we're very efficient. We don't turn the ball over. We take the ball away, and we turn it into points, have one of the best point turnover differentials in the league. You know, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, the guy I was just talking about a few minutes ago, this guy, you know, hurts his wrist or something in the Cowboys game, and he already had like an interception early in the game. He comes in and gets another interception. You know, I feel like he's had several interceptions already this year. He's pretty much getting an interception in every game, it seems like. Sometimes multiple interceptions. So you got to watch out for these guys. And Slay and Bradbury are they're making plays back there on the back end. So this secondary is making stuff happen. So Kenny Pickett versus this Eagles secondary, the pass rush coming to get him with Hassan Reddick, with Fletcher Cox and the boys, Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat. It does not look like a good recipe for the Steelers. I can understand why the line is at 11. It started at 9.5 and moved to 11 as far as today. Maybe it'll move again before kickoff. So if you guys are looking to bet, put some money on that, because I think the Eagles are in for a big day. I think the Eagles could cover that spread, get the win on Sunday, and prove to 7-0.
I mean, at bare minimum for the Birds, this should be an advantage of 2 scores or more. I know there's people out there that are talking about, well, do not underestimate the Steelers. Don't sleep on them.
I'm not sleeping on them. It's not good. I mean, they're 2-5 they're 2-5 for a reason.
Yeah, I mean when you look at it this way, and this is the same criticism that we gave the Dallas Cowboys when Cooper Rush was the starting quarterback, and well, you can arguably still give the same criticism in Dak's return game, because offensively they didn't look a whole lot better. But you look at the Steelers as a whole, they're the second worst offense, sitting at 31st with only 107 points in 7 games. They're the 22nd ranked defense, and yeah, you got some studs over there, and but Devin Bush has been underperforming. They still got Minkah Fitzpatrick in the secondary.
TJ Harris has not been able to get it going this season.
No, TJ Watt's still nursing his injury. I mean, across the board, from a defensive perspective, the Steelers are not intimidating. They don't force turnovers, although they are 11th in the league. Forced fumbles, they're 27th. So you know they're not aggressive at stripping the football. Interceptions wise, they've forced 13, they forced 8. So you'll take that. You'll take that as a defense. So their secondary is doing a good job, other than maybe the quarterback isn't doing a good job for the opposing team, but they're third in the league in interceptions. But this is where the Eagles can take full advantage. Between Kenny Pickett and Mitchell Trubisky, in 7 games, they got sacked 15 times. As an offensive line, that's unacceptable. I'm sorry. Like 15 times in 7 games, you can't have that. That's at least 2 sacks a game. As in terms of efficiency, both quarterbacks do not push the ball down the field. They're both averaging 6 yards attempt. They're both averaging under 200 yards a game. Kenny Pickett's at 193 to Trubisky's 159. In terms of QBR, they're both below average. Passer rating, they're both below average. So, I mean, again, this is a team that is not good at putting points on the board. You can argue and say that their receiving core is pretty decent. You look at Deontay Johnson, who is a deep threat for them. You got George Pickens. You have Pat Freiermuth, who I wanted for the Eagles. That's not the here nor there. I loved Pat coming out of Penn State, but Chase Claypool has been a disappointment this year so far. Across the
After
board,
Chase in offseason said he was going to be a top 3 wide receiver, but go ahead.
Yikes, right? But across the board in terms of receivers, you don't have the Steelers do not have a single receiver that has a catch percentage of over 65%, and the only one that's at 65 is George Pickens. If you include the tight ends, Freiermuth is sitting at a 68.3. And this is at a minimum of 30 or more targets. And you look at who they're throwing the football to the most. It's between Claypool, Johnson, Pickens, and Freiermuth. You just mentioned Najee Harris. He has been really struggling to hit his stride this season so far. He's averaging under 3.5 yards a carry. He's not really impacting much in the pass game. So because the Steelers can't really put anything together on who they want at quarterback, that's another struggle in itself, because the offensive weapons have to deal with 2 different quarterbacks back there. They're trying to figure it out offensively, and that's just not a recipe for success. Do you want Trubisky as your starter, or are you trying to give the rookie more of a chance here? Now, granted, to Bacon's point, I hope that we don't put a hurting on Pickett with the way injuries have been going in the NFL this season. It's running rampant. I mean, especially for concussions. Kenny Pickett's just coming off of suffering from a concussion. So, but aside from that, I'm really not all that threatened from Pittsburgh. And you take it. When was the last time we played the Steelers? That was when Carson Wentz was a rookie. Pittsburgh came to Philly, and they got dominated. They didn't have a chance, and that's when Ben Roethlisberger was their quarterback. So that's all you need to know. Last time Steelers were at the Linc'd,
they got absolutely smoked.
Yeah,
yep.
they got slaughtered. So
I remember that game,
and I think this result is going to be much of the same if the Eagles show up and do their job. We're top 5 in offense and defense for a reason. And coming out of the bye, we should do nothing but improve on both sides of the football.
We need to play better coming out of the bye.
Yes, we do.
I expect to see that for sure. But yeah, this is another one of the games on the schedule where you got to just look at yourself and say the Eagles can only beat themselves, because they cannot lose to this team. This team is not better. They're not even close to on the same level. But you still got to take everything seriously. Handle business. Don't do anything stupid. Turnovers. The Eagles haven't been turning it over that much. Hasn't really been an issue. We've been taking the ball away. Kenny Pickett, reckless with the ball. Rookie quarterback, opportunistic secondary. Not a good recipe for success. It's actually a recipe for disaster for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But ladies and gentlemen, when we get back, we got some more stuff to talk about. Our main man, G. Ward, Greg Ward Jr., he is coming back to the squad on a practice squad deal. So that's going to be something interesting to watch out for. But we will be right back.
Sports fans are gearing up and saving big at Fanatics.com, the world's largest collection of officially licensed fan gear. From all the leagues, teams, and players you love, unique one-of-a-kind designs exclusively by Fanatics, and autographed collectibles from today's biggest stars shipped directly to your home. Join Fanatics Rewards for free to earn fan cash on every purchase. Shop now and for a limited time, get 20% off all orders. Fanatics.com, officially licensed everything.
Ladies and gentlemen, Greg Ward is back on the practice squad. He was kind of the odd man out because the Eagles just had a bunch of wide receivers. He brought in A.J. Brown. Jalen Reagor was here. He got traded to the Vikings. Devontae Smith obviously out here. You got your main man, Quez, putting on the burners, putting on the Jets. You had a loaded receiver room, and you didn't know what was going to happen. So Greg Ward Jr. coming back. Lindy, your thoughts on the move?
In all honesty, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what this exactly tells me, other than it has to do with special teams more than it does in terms of the offense. Britton Covey's in trouble, whether
What it
we
seems
like it or
like.
not. And I know I've been giving him a chance. And this kid's a rookie. He's trying to figure it out. Undrafted rookie free agent out of Utah, and again, he's trying to figure it out there. And this could be a means of lighting a fire under him. And again, Greg Ward was in a position where he's been nursing a toe injury. He got waived off of IR, and
Injury settlement.
I think it's to rule that a team has to wait 6 weeks before claiming a waiver claim or signing someone back onto the practice squad. So the Eagles have cleared that threshold. They bring him back, and I guess, to me, if Britton doesn't step it up, and I don't know why they wouldn't try Devin Allen back there, but if Britton doesn't step it up between him and maybe Devin, we could see some fair catches. Greg fair catch Ward out on special teams once more. So, Eagles fans, this is a pick your poison. Who would you rather have back there? I know Britton's struggling right now, but at least he's pushing the football upfield a little bit. In terms of us having good starting field position, which we do, if I recall correctly. I think we're one of the top teams in that. Yes, the Eagles are 5th in terms of starting field position. Sometimes Britton Covey has something to do with that on kickoff returns and punt returns. But we're just looking for a bigger spark from special teams. So again, if Covey doesn't step it up, look out for Greg Faircatch Ward to return.
Yeah, I'm not really that impressed with Britton Covey whatsoever. He doesn't really move me. He catches the ball, he runs. He doesn't seem like he really has the vision that we expected him to have, because he made some big plays in the college level, and when we signed him, it was supposed to be a big deal. We're like, oh man, this guy's fast, he's explosive, he's exactly what we need back there.
Mm-hmm.
And it just hasn't gone like what we thought it was going to be. And I'm with you on Devin Allen. I actually thought that Devin Allen was going to be over Covey, but that was not the case. So I would be interested to see him get a chance at some point this season. But Greg Ward is a guy that's been around the team for years. The coaches know him. They really like him. He's enjoyed in the locker room. And you know what? You can depend on him to at least, not muff any punts or do anything stupid. So I can see why they made a move like this. I don't think it's really a big deal. But our special teams has not been, if we want to say one area has not been so good, our special teams really hasn't been as impressive as we would have liked for it to be. Not as impressive as the offense, not as impressive as the defense. Definitely need to see some improvement the second half of the season back there. But yeah, interesting move. We'll have to see what Greg Ward's role is going to be, but special teams seems like a safe bet. Eagles don't seem like really sold on Britton Covey.
At least special teams is a little better than last year. At least you can say that much, but no, it's not very impressive. Because I know some beat writers and others want the what's his name? I think Michael Clay. I think they want him out of there, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to see about that. So let's have a little discussion. It's October. We got Halloween in like just about a week or so away. So what are we feeling about this? Like the scariest Eagle of all time. When I say scariest, I guess you can define that, but however you mean. But I'm just saying in terms of just a mean, vicious guy that you do not want to go up against in a situation.
Fear factor, yeah.
So I'm going to throw a curveball on this one because I know people are going to say Dawkins, people are going to say Reggie White, Jeremiah Trotter,
Hence your jersey.
A lot of defensive players. Yes,
right.
And I love this jersey, by the way. But he is not my pick. He is not my pick. My pick is Mr. Jon Runyan, former offensive lineman for the Eagles a long time ago. This man had a mean, vicious streak. And when I'm talking about playing the offensive line, you got to have that. You got to have that. You cannot be soft playing on the offensive line because you got to go up against some other mean, nasty guys. So Jon Runyan, you see this guy running full speed at you, and he's going to knock you down. Like if I'm a DB or something, and by the way, DBs, these are not all these DBs are like small guys. They're small compared to him, but you're like 195, 200 pounds. That's not small. That's not small. But this guy comes running down the field on you on a running play, bro. You're going to just get completely smoked. He was a mean, nasty guy. I'm going with Jon Runyan. Scariest Eagle of all time. Happy Halloween.
That's definitely interesting, man. I think I'm gonna stay on the offensive side of the ball on this one. And yeah, you brought up Weapon X, Wolverine. You brought up
the thing about Dawkins though, like in terms of playing, absolutely. But Brian Dawkins is actually, and I'm going to give a shout out to our guy at the network, John Shear, because he went to cover the NFL Hall of Fame last year and the year before, and he actually met Brian. And Brian is actually one of the nicest guys that you ever meet. Like as a person, he's one of the nicest guys. If you notice his pregame speeches, he's never saying cuss words. Like he's not saying like giving everything you got and saying, dropping F-bombs and stuff. He's saying doggone and stuff like that. He's a nice guy. He's just mean on the football field.
knows when to take it, knows when to take his anger out at the right time.
Right.
But as soon as I say this person's name, I guess it could have that kind of Megatron effect. And one of the all-time Eagle greats that I think just got into the I think it's the Eagles Hall of Fame that he was just added to. That would be Harold Carmichael. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. There's something about when you're.
I mean, he was like 6'8", right?
Yeah, you're lining up against a receiver, and you just see this beanstalk of a man at 6'8" on the other side of the line of scrimmage, and you gotta try and take the ball away from him, even like on a go ball, whatever
Especially if you're like a 5'11", 6 foot dude, and this guy's 6'8". Like,
I mean, you had to have a Michael Jordan vertical to even have a chance at deflecting, at pass deflecting this away from this man. I can't imagine the wingspan of Harold at that size, to play receiver and to have a little bit of tight end experience. But his numbers themselves do not suggest much dominance, and I get that, but he still has Pro Bowls to his name. I think he's a 4-time Pro Bowler, 73.
There's still a little bit of. I see the point you're making though. Like there is some element of fear when it comes to covering a guy that's like 6'8".
At his size as a receiver. but even still, he was still able to amass over 1,000 yards in his career, and he had a long career. He played for 13 years. I mean, for him to last into his mid 30s at that height, your knees are going to give out. They're going to give out a lot quicker, the taller you are. So for him to be able to play that long, although his last season was for that dreaded blue star, he still had over 1,100 yards in 73. He hit almost 100 or almost 1,178. He had a good year in 1980 when they reached the Super Bowl and unfortunately lost to the Raiders. But yeah, I think with this question, it's easy to list defensive players because of the violence and tenacity that they play with. And you mentioned
we went with 2 offensive guys.
Yeah, you mentioned John Runyon, and for what he's been able to do. I don't know if I would. Well, you know what? I'm trying to think of our current day offensive linemen and put them in the same category. Mailata's an easy one. How many pancake blocks we have seen by that man already at 6'8"?
So you want to take us another direction and say who's the scariest right now?
There's an example for you right there. I mean,
if I had to say, I would probably say Mailata, because remember,
that's an easy one. Yeah.
Remember last season versus the Falcons, week 1 against the Falcons, this guy absolutely destroyed somebody. Like, I can't even remember what the guy's name was, but it was some DB from the Falcons on a running play. Like Mailata, just imagine Mailata's like a 6'8", 300-pound Australian beast running down the field at full speed, and you just get leveled. Like, Mailata's a nice guy. He's a nice, jolly, happy guy, but if this guy's coming, running at me full speed down the field, I'm going to just get out the way, fam. I'm going to just get out the way. You go do your thing. I'm making a business decision.
I think, I think Lane Johnson's intimidating in a different way that he gets to you mentally for how dominant he is as a right tackle and very little sack allowance. You can
hasn't allowed a sack in over 2 years.
You could ask Micah Parsons. I had to. I'm sorry. I had to.
He completely shut down Micah after Lane got hurt. That's when Micah started causing more problems for us. But before that, it was a very quiet night for him.
And, well, you can ask Dan Quinn a little bit of that, why they didn't adjust when they knew they had the advantage. But that's not here nor there. Well, we'll see them again Christmas Eve. But, nonetheless, I mean, this is – like when you say scariest, it just offers a broad range of definitions that you can work from. So you can include plenty of players in that category, and I think us two made a couple of good examples.
I'm gonna put AJ in there. I'm gonna put AJ Brown in there because you gotta think about this. Like, this guy can make stuff happen. He can make big plays. Mm-hmm. He can get open. He can get separation. But it's like, once he catches the ball, you can't bring him down. Like, it's like he goes from being a wide receiver to like a big running back. You know what I'm saying? Like, you throw AJ the ball on a slant, and he's like running and getting all these yards, and guys are trying to bring him down. They just can't do it. Like, this guy will run through you. AJ Brown is strong and physical. So I'm gonna put AJ Brown in the conversation too. Like, it's kind of like what Grizz is saying over here. He's menacing. So if I'm a TV, I'll be a little bit shook. Like, I think Trayvon Diggs was a little bit shook. We like Jalen Hurts says, we leave money on the table. Mm-hmm. We had AJ wide open on a play, but the protection broke down. He was absolutely behind the defense, and then you had Trayvon later in that game took his helmet off and started screaming whenever Devontae Smith scored that touchdown. So, yeah, that was very gratifying to see. But I'm
I'm
AJ in the conversation.
I would give some respect to Dallas Goedert too. When he is on his A game, you're going to have a hard time in bringing him down, especially for him having a little bit of shiftiness to his game too. I mean, he could put a little bit of a move on people, and that's what for how many years? That's one thing we asked Zach Ertz to do. So,
yeah, Zach could not get yak. That's why they called him No Yak Zach. No disrespect. I love him, but this guy would catch the ball and then he would get knocked down by the wind. That's just the way it was with our guy Zach. But still love that guy. So let's go on and let's have this conversation, this debate. And I told you guys at the beginning of the show. If the Eagles from this season, 2022 Eagles, went to a neutral site, meaning not somewhere in Philly, even though Eagles fans are known to travel, so it doesn't really matter if it's a neutral site. But neutral site, 2022 Eagles, 2004 Eagles, not 2017, because I know a lot of people have made comparisons and saying, this team does actually have more talent than the 2017 team, which that's a debate we can have some other time. But Jalen Hurts versus Donovan McNabb, A.J. Brown versus T.O. You had the Eagles defense in 2004, Jim Johnson. You had Brian Dawkins. You had Jeremiah Trotter. You had a good defensive line. You had a Curse on the edge. Used to cause a lot of problems for people. Jim Johnson, God rest that man's soul, we haven't had a defensive coordinator like him since him. We went through a lot of defensive coordinators that were not any good, and our defenses have not been mean and nasty like they were since then. So, in terms of and we lost Lindy for a second, but in terms of this, I just gotta say, I don't know exactly how Jalen Hurts could handle going up against somebody like Brian Dawkins, because I think that we played some great players in the league. There's some great talent in the league right now, but this is a different guy that we're talking about. And this is a guy that, against Michael Vick in the playoffs, oh man, if you ask Michael Vick, he will tell you this was one of the meanest, nastiest hits that he ever took in his life. This guy knocked the wind out of him. So Jalen Hurts being a mobile quarterback, that's something to watch out for. And the way Jim Johnson would probably throw a lot of different things his way would be interesting. But I also think that we would have something to say for that offense. Okay? Because you have T.O., and you're probably not going to stop T.O. You can only hope to contain him. But with guys like Slay, guys like Bradbury, guys like Gardner Johnson in the back end, you got good secondary players that can match up really well. But who else is going to beat you besides T.O.? That's the question. Because the receiving core was not actually that good outside of T.O. You know what I'm saying? The weapons were not really good. It was kind of T.O. and Westbrook. And those are the two guys that would really do a lot of damage. But I do say, in terms of coaching, I'll give it a 2004. Andy Reid and Jim Johnson, I'm taking them 1,000 times out of 1,000 over Nick Sirianni, Shane Steichen, Jonathan Gannon, and all the crew that we got over here. T.O., I'm taking T.O. over anyone on our receiver core. However, as a whole, 22 has better overall weapons from top to bottom. Offensive line, I would go with the Eagles in 2022. But for this game, I just don't trust. I don't trust Donovan McNabb with the game in the balance, and I never did. I never felt comfortable in any type of clutch situations. You know, you had the guy thrown up in the Super Bowl. He was just a guy that didn't really care. You know, he just kind of showed up and was like, yeah, I'm the quarterback. I'm this. And he couldn't deliver. He couldn't deliver in the clutch situations. And he's throwing the ball in the dirt. He's throwing the ball on the ground. If T.O.'s open, he won't throw it to him out of spite. So I can't put my faith in Donovan McNabb. I just can't do it. So I'm going with the 22 Eagles. The 22 Eagles, no matter what has happened this season, we have continued to find more ways to win football games, and we can win it. It's not just like if you take one thing away from us, then we can't win. Like, this is our identity. This is what we do. If you take A.J. Brown out of the game, then we can't do anything. We can't move the ball. If you stop the run, we can't do anything. We can't move the ball. No. You can take away the run, and we'll still find a way to win. That's kind of what happened versus the Washington Commanders. We actually were killing them with big plays in the passing game, and Jalen Hurts is not really running that much in that game. And we didn't really run for a lot of yards. So you take one thing away, they still find a way to win. And in the clutch situations, I just can't put my faith in Donovan McNabb. So right here, I'm going with the 2022 Eagles. I do think they would beat the 2004 Eagles.
Looks like I came in at the right time here.
I think I made a pretty good case.
Hopefully, I do not succumb to any more random power surges. That's what I had to text Jim here quick. So where I live, all the power lines and everything are underground. I'm kind of in a no outlet type of neighborhood. So that doesn't bode well much for me, especially when the weather decides to give me some heavy rain over here. But nonetheless, this was an interesting one to me. Solely to the point that we're taking a team that was a proven Super Bowl team that, well, as we know, eventually got their heart broken by the New England Patriots. Although leading up to that game, they were absolutely dominant in the playoffs, giving the business to the Vikings and the Falcons by almost 2 scores in both games. And again, I understand Jim's point here in that with McNabb, you could not trust him in clutch time moments. I don't know.
I think he would make a crucial mistake that would cost the team.
Am I going to be that guy here? I think I am. And I think between the current Eagles and the 2004 squad, well, right now, the current Eagles have only played 6 games. We don't know what their outcome is going to be. Are they going to be able to sustain this level of success? So on and so forth. However, up to this point, what they have going for them is that they are top 5 in terms of offense and defense in terms of scoring. They are the 4th ranked offense in the league as of week 8. And they are the 4th best defense in the league as of week 8. The 2004 Eagles that year were number 2 in defense, averaging only 16 points allowed. And they were the 8th ranked offense at 24 points. Kind of an even match there between both teams. Both quarterbacks were fairly efficient with the football. When you talk about the type of quarterback that McNabb and Jalen Hurts are, McNabb that year out of 15 games, 31 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. 64% completion percentage through just under 4,000 yards, coming 125 short. Passer rating of 105. He was phenomenal. 8.3 yards per attempt. On the flip side, you got Jalen Hurts, and granted, they did not do QBRs back in 2004. But right now, Jalen Hurts is an above average quarterback of a near 60 QBR, averaging 250 yards a game to McNabb's 258.3. Hurts is at 252. Yards per attempt are very close. They're only 0.1 yards apart at 8.2 to 8.3. Hurts is completing 67% of his passes, taking care of the football with only 2 interceptions, and you can tack on an additional 6 rushing touchdowns. Both quarterbacks are damn efficient. But I think the one thing that sets these two teams apart is experience. And I think that's the easiest thing. I think that's the easiest contrast that you can make between the two of them, especially when you have such a star-studded coaching staff the Eagles had in 2004. Andy Reid. You already know
they have the edge for coaching.
Big Red. You're already going with Big Red. But it is the rest of the staff where this team separates itself from the Eagles. Jim Johnson, your defensive coordinator. Brad Childress was a good OC for them. David Culley for the receivers. John Harbaugh, Marty Morningwake, Sean McDermott, Pat Shurmur, Steve Spagnuolo.
A lot of those guys are head coaches in the league now. McDermott's a head coach. Harbaugh's a head coach. Harbaugh won a Super Bowl with the Ravens. Andy Reid's coaching tree, man. He's got the best coaching tree in the league. A lot of people would think New England Patriots, but no. Belichick, his coaching tree is terrible. He actually has some of the worst coaching trees, which is why could spark a whole nother debate out of this. I'm taking Andy Reid as a coach over Bill Belichick because without Tom Brady, Belichick has a losing record as a coach for his career without Brady. So Andy Reid's getting it done with all these quarterbacks. But despite how great of a coach Andy Reid was, you could never, ever trust McNabb because McNabb would always choke. And I always say this, that if we had a better quarterback than McNabb, then we would have had a chance to win those NFC championship games. A lot of the ones that we lost before T.O. came there. But McNabb just does not have the clutch gene. And I trust Jalen Hurts, even at this stage in his career, second, third-year quarterback, second year starting, I trust him in a clutch situation over McNabb. And I'm not afraid to say it.
That's true. That's definitely true. But still, I mean, I cannot deny the level of experience that, in terms of the coaching staff and in terms of the players that the Eagles had that year. I mean, I don't know, man. You really think Jalen Hurts can get the best of a Jim Johnson coached defense with all those playmakers on the defensive side of the football?
I think
that's a tough sell.
I think we would have to figure it out. I would say, they have the edge in that, but
Dawkins, Sheldon Brown, Michael Lewis, Trotter, Lito Shepherd, Javon Curse, they were loaded, man. I don't know. Hurts would have a tough day against that defense. I'm sorry. I would take the 2004 team on this one.
All right, I'm going with 22. You're going with 2004.
Yep.
Fair enough. I don't think many of your points are really wrong, but for me, I really just can't trust McNabb. I never was able to trust him. Over the course of his career, I always just had a feeling that something bad was going to happen, an accident waiting to happen. Third down, fourth down, whatever you need to convert for a first down. This guy's going to feel the pressure. He's going to throw the ball in the ground. He's going to throw the ball at the feet of the receiver. You can't trust this guy. T.O.'s wide open. He's being spiteful. He's like, I don't want to throw it to you because I don't want you to be getting the credit. This is how McNabb is wired. This is why McNabb's not a winner. I think when it comes to being a winner and having a win mentality, Jalen Hurts, as right now, 24 years old, he's more of a grown man and more of a leader than McNabb ever was at any point of his career. So I think that stuff matters. I think that stuff matters, and that's why I'm going with the 22 squad. But I don't think any of your points are wrong. If anything, it was a really good and interesting debate tonight. But that was about all we have time for tonight. So, Lindy, I want to give you the floor. I want you to tell the people any of the stuff that you're working on, any of the stuff you're doing with your channel, any stuff you're doing with Sideline Sports Network Empire.
I wish I had some things to say as of recently, but I've been cleaning up a few things on the on the outside life end. I did have something in the works for last week. Unfortunately, it fell through.
Okay.
But I will be trying to connect and resurrect that. But yeah, I mean, on another note, just trying to figure out my ultimate goal in life in terms of my career. So I got a new beginning coming up in 2 weeks, and I'm pretty damn excited about it. But it shouldn't affect the channel much, especially the podcast. So I will still have full commitment to the podcast here. But yeah, awesome. A lot of it's not too late to it's never too late for a career change, and that's where I'm currently at.
Awesome stuff. Very happy to hear that stuff. So with all of us here on the channel, all of us here with the LinkedIn podcast, all of us here with the Sideline Sports Network Empire, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching. Please leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed this episode. And we will see you guys next Tuesday night. Go Birds!
Sports fans are gearing up in...
Wrong outro.